they say I got no limits. I'm walking in with a bottle of water, but that little bitch got Patron in it. All of you hoes been it, none of you put any soul in it. If I hear you say it's all at the dome, and I'm probably leaving a hole in it. Yeah.
Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to the next episode of From a Fan's Eye View. I'm Justin along with Sam. And Sam, I hear you have a promise that is coming true. You got something for us.
That is right, guys. It has finally come. Justin, you're going to see it for the first time along with everybody else. So here it comes. I'm really happy about this. I cannot lie to you. Here it is, number 11 on
Who's
the
that?
Wolves.
Who's that?
It is Mr. Nas Reed
Oh.
himself. Nas Reed is in the building. I told you guys it would happen. It's here. And, you know, it came off a sketchy website, but you know what? They came through. They were the plugs. And, you know, I'm excited to have this, Jay. Yeah, true. It was very, very cheap. So
now you have a Nas Reed jersey.
We're going to see it on for the first time. This first time I put it on. I cannot lie. So here we go.
Not lying.
Through the headset. Oh, gosh. Oh, heck.
Take a sip of my Diet Coke.
Imagine if
Not
I ripped
sponsored.
it. Imagine if I ripped it. That'd be so sweet.
That's not to be unexpected from those sketchy websites, though, I feel like.
No,
Although
but I was going to get over the headset.
I might order a sketchy Vikings jersey because I saw that their new throwbacks. That's a pretty clean jersey. I won't even lie.
That is pretty nice, ain't it?
Dang, got the dump truck in the back.
Don't look at that. Stop.
But
Hey, stop! Stop recording!
I saw the Vikings jerseys they released, those new throwbacks, and
Yeah, those are nice.
but they don't provide stitched ones. It's only printed on ones. Even like the
Interesting.
NFL website and the Vikings don't provide stitched ones. It's all printed on. So I might just order a cheap one, a fake one, because it's still printed. So it is what it is. But
True.
Nas Reed aside, looking in the greater picture, not just national news, or maybe more so national news, the Women's World Cup is going on. And, you know, the United States is in a spot they haven't been in a lot. They do need to win their next game to ensure they get past this round, which is not unexpected. They play Portugal, I believe, at 2 a.m. The morning after this is recorded. We're recording this Monday, so it's going to be Tuesday at 2 a.m. They're playing something like that. But Sam, I believe there was a recent clip from the last game that was pretty. I watched it live. It was pretty damn sweet. What did you think about it?
Oh, you saw it live? Yeah, I had to see
live.
it afterwards. But yeah, Lindsey Horan, what a kind of a savage moment, you know, especially from a girl that young. You know, just anyone in general who plays sports at a professional level, to be that young, to stay poised enough in that situation and, you know, get your revenge and get your get back. You know, it's pretty cool, regardless of, the level of play that you're at and what gender you are. You know, it doesn't really matter. It's a cool moment all around.
You know, that was actually that girl that tackled her was her teammate in like the, professional league she plays in. I don't know exactly what it's called in soccer, but like, when she plays in the regular season, that's her teammate. So they had a bit of history there, and they were beefing in the field, complaining, and that's the best way to get back in soccer. I mean, it's just a nasty header to score and tie the game and keep, give the USA that point. And now they have a chance to move on tomorrow, which they typically do. They have one of the best records I've ever seen in the World Cup, and they're favorites to win most years. So, here's hoping America pulls through one more time. But now to shrink it back down to a little more smaller news. Again, I think you're pretty happy about this. The Wild re-signed your guy, Gus Boy.
Oh yeah, the Gus bus is back. I saw a tweet from the Wild saying like, we're gonna see the bus emoji in our favorite section for the next 3 years. And I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, the Wild signed Gustafsson to avoid arbitration, and he's here for 3 years on $11.25 million. So he's averaging around just under $4 million a year, $3.75 million. So it's a really good deal. Honestly, he was on our best goaltender throughout the season for sure. It's still going to be interesting to see how long this will last with him being the starting goaltender because of Jesper Wallstedt, who's down in the minors with the Wild, and he's claimed to be the best goalie prospect in hockey. So don't know how long it will be Philip as the number one option once Jesper is ready to come up and get his playing time in the NHL. But we might still see Philip and Marc-Andre Fleury continue to split the time on the pipes, but it's a really good deal. Honestly, a really good steal. Only just under $4 million a year for a guy who is low-key having almost like a top 10 goalie year. I mean, yeah, it's a fantastic deal for the Wild for sure.
And do you want to see Fleury in the net a lot next year, or you think his time is kind of gone?
he's not what he once was.
Obviously,
That's
yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I think I'd like to see them take that step forward, and like it's really weird the position the Wild are always in because they don't have the contract space to take in like free agents, like top players in the league because of the dead cap space due to Parisi and
Yeah.
Ryan Suter. So it's always hard for them to make big steps forward and make a splash during the offseason. So sometimes you're like, oh, do we keep these, older veteran guys around to continue to try to make pushes in the playoffs? Or do we try to take a step back and let these young guys work their way up? And personally, I'd rather see Phillip continue to start and become the primary goalie of this year rather than Fleury. Because, Fleury's always going to be a solid backup. You have no problem with Fleury. And even when it comes down to playoffs, if the Wild make the playoffs again, I'd have no problem with seeing Fleury in net every 2 games. Maybe he comes in for the 3rd game or the 4th game, depending on how much we're up in a series. But yeah, I think Gus is definitely the guy to put in net most of the season, for sure.
I have to say I agree with you after watching Fleury in the postseason. I wasn't particularly impressed by any stretch of the imagination. I thought Gus did better in the playoffs and all season long in general. So I'm excited to see where the Wild go. I mean, they've been stuck in a kind of mediocrity place for a while here. So let's hope some of these signings and attempts to get better work for them in the long run. Speaking of attempts to get better, I believe we have some trades discussed in the MLB that you've been keeping an eye on.
Yeah, there's a lot. Some of them aren't as notable as others, so I'm just going to read off some of the trades that we've seen so far in the past few days. The Angels acquired C.J. Cron, guy used to be on the Twinkies Bomba squad, and Randall Grichuk, along with the Rangers getting Jordan Montgomery, Chris Stratton, and Max Scherzer. The Blue Jays picked up Jordan Hicks. The Giants just acquired A.J. Pollock, which wasn't actually that long ago from the point of us recording this episode. And the Cubs picked up Heimer Candelario. Don't know if I butchered that name. I probably did. And
Move this man!
Mark Canha was traded to the Brewers. So some pretty big names around there. I think the biggest name for sure is Mr. Max Scherzer. Was a 3-time Cy Young winner. I mean, that's a pretty big pickup. The Rangers are going all in on their pitching, and that's a big deal when it comes to playoffs.
And the Mets might be moving on from Verlander soon too, because there's no point in keeping that guy around. But a couple of things, maybe the not so notable name, but something that's annoying or shocking to me is how little CJ Cron went for. It was just like a single prospect and not even like a super high ranked one. While the Twins have no hitting, and they have a guy who likes hitting at Target Field sitting right there in CJ Cron. It's like, why not go for him? We talked this a little bit off camera. The Mets are clearly selling, and I even mentioned this in a different pod. I don't think we ended up, or no, it was used. The Pete Alonso, I said, should be a Minnesota Twin. And
Sure.
if the Mets are selling, why have we not seen the Twins go for any of their players? I mean, we just lost to the, we just got swept by the Kansas City Royals. The Kansas City Royals.
Dude, we're competing. The Twins are competing right now. What else can you say? I mean, and along with them, I mean, the Mets selling, it seems like the St. Louis Cardinals themselves are also selling quite a bit of guys. And so we had even mentioned once before, I think, that Paul Goldschmidt could even be on the list. Arenado too. That'd be a cool pickup. That's solid. That's great defense at the corner. And another solid bat. Personally, I think I'm not as concerned about the defense in the field than I am the hitting. So maybe Goldschmidt would be a little bit better to have. So, there's so many guys. I feel like it's just a Minnesota thing in general. I feel like so many Minnesota teams are so scared to go out and make a huge move and splash in the deadline. I mean, I feel like the biggest trade I've seen recently was the trade for Hawkinson on the Vikings last season, to be honest.
That brings up a good point. We didn't really have this, this is kind of a random thing off the top of your heads. If you have something, feel free to mention it. But what do you think the biggest free agent signing in like Minnesota history is? Like, what comes when you think, hey, big name free agent? What's the guy you think of in Minnesota?
Holy cow! Is it Correa? I mean, like, he's a pretty big name when it came, being on the Astros and winning those World Series. I mean, it's hard to not say that he might have been the biggest name to come into Minnesota. I mean, maybe there's some bigger names. Like, I would say Marc-Andre Fleury is a bigger name than Carlos Correa in terms of their respected sport. but I don't think that Fleury was having as much of an impact as Correa should be having currently right now on the Twins.
When Twins signed Correa, I was like, oh my gosh, the Twins got Carlos Correa. When the Wild signed Marc-Andre Fleury, I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Like
it was definitely a pretty cool move in general, but I don't know not the Twins, the Minnesota sports teams they
Brett
just don't
Favre,
make those moves. Maybe even you could see Jimmy Butler even to an extent. I mean, that was a pretty cool trade, but like I don't think people really realized what Jimmy was until he started playing with Miami.
Yeah, Brett Favre could be up there, I guess. That was a pretty big deal. Packers
True.
legend going to their team, but
going to a division rival.
Well, hey, if you guys
right next door
can think of a bigger free agent signing in Minnesota sports history in general, feel free to comment down below. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I believe there was.
I got one. It's Naz Reid, the
Not
extension of Naz Reid.
There was a Twins player, I think, from back in the day that was a big signing that people mentioned.
There's probably someone before our
comes
time.
up, but I can't think of him. But so those trades again. I mean, the Rangers, like we've talked about, absolutely stocking on starters, and we even talked about this at a different time where I said the Rangers should get Shohei Ohtani because they need a starting pitcher. Like they don't have one after Jacob deGrom sadly got hurt. They need a starting pitcher. They must have been listening because they went out and picked up a couple of starting pitchers and some bullpen help. They also already signed or they traded for Chapman, who was one of the better lefty relievers the league has seen in a while. So this is a team that is clearly preparing. Like they're all in this season. Clearly, they also traded away Ronald Acuna's brother, who was one of the higher rated shortstop prospects, I believe. And obviously, in baseball seemingly more than any sport, family is a big deal. And you seem like family members seem to be really good in baseball. So moving on from a guy like that for an older Max Scherzer who had the best season so far, but has proven to be good before, it shows the Rangers really are all in on this season.
Yeah. I couldn't name one time. Like I said, we don't make huge splashes in trades, Minnesota sports-wise. It's like, when have you ever seen a Minnesota team make a splash the way like the Rangers have this season alone? I mean, the Rangers haven't been extremely good the past few seasons, and as soon as they're good again, they're like, we're going all in. We're going to make this happen. And it's fun to see, like it's exciting for fans to see that the front office cares about what the team looks like in the current moment, and they're willing to do what they need to succeed. And
I'm sure Rangers fans are ecstatic right now.
Even
a team like the Angels, who people kind of say, oh, they're not very good, or oh, they should move on. They decided to hold down the fort. They didn't trade Shohei, they didn't trade Trout, and they traded for people. I mean, they got CJ Cron, and got another good bat. And who was the other player they added?
Randall Grichuk, who's batting .300 with 8 home runs and 27 RBI. So not a bad contact hitter.
They went out and tried to make this team better. Now, the Angels have historically been quite bad and have failed, even though they have the two best players on the planet. But this could be, at least they're trying. It's nice to see these teams that think they have a shot trying to push forward. Whereas the Minnesota Twins, who lead the division, sadly, after getting swept by one of the last teams in the division, are just say, hey, we'll keep these guys. A stat I saw, Sonny Gray hasn't won a game in his last 15 starts. He hasn't won a game, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has not had more than 2 runs of support in any of those games, based on a tweet I saw. So
yeah, it's not very fun.
But this offense, this front office thinks the bats are working. Apparently,
I mean, somewhat recently they had been. I mean, I think before the sweep in the ghost town of Kansas City. They were 8-2 in the last 10 games before that series. I mean, and the bats were pretty hot, but everyone comes back down to earth. And even in some of those games where we scored 7 runs, we still blew it. I think Lopez against the Mariners, I think he gave up 2 earned runs or something like that. And then the bullpen, 2 of the guys gave up 3. It's like, what's going on? We can't,
Durant's
even when we do support, our bullpen blows it. Yeah, and Durant
gave up the got walked off to Bobby Witt.
Yeah.
Grand salami them off the field.
Unbelievable. Even our best guys are choking pretty bad. So, even when the bats are going, someone here's got to screw it up.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about trades that have already happened, and now we've talked about the Twins, so they haven't made one. But the great people at, I believe, Bleacher Report have posted an article on moves in free agency that every single team should do. We pulled this article up. We did not read the Twins one, so let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick.
Boom, here we are. I'm just now reading the Kansas City Royals one. I'm kind of upset because if you saw one of the last episodes, I said that I think the Twinkies could trade for Salvador Perez. because it would help at the catcher spot, help with the batting. But the Twinkies are just below here, so let's take a look. They're saying we go and get right-handed pitcher Ronnie Henriquez, to the New York Mets, for outfielder Tommy Pham. What the Twins need is someone who can at least somewhat consistently get on base. Their pitching has been great, and they have the slugging prowess to rank among the MLB leaders in runs scored, but they don't, because they entered Friday with more than 4 times as many home runs with the bases empty as they did with multiple runners on base. Tommy Pham could be a big help there, and you wouldn't figure it to cost much considering he's an impending free agent on a Mets team that has already waved the white flag. Any viable pitching prospect should be enough to pique New York's interest.
That would be nice. It'd be like a poor man's Luis Arias, which the Twins could use. I mean, I don't know if I agree with the slugging prowess. I mean, I guess the names are there. Like you hear Byron Buxton, you hear Joey Gallo, and all that, and you think, yeah, those guys hit home runs, but they haven't. I mean, Joey Gallo struck out of his last 100 at bats. I believe he struck out 50% of the time.
Yeah, we lead the league.
Simply not good.
We lead the league by team with most strikeouts. We're one of
Gallo,
2 teams that have over 1,000 strikeouts this season.
Look, I love Joey Gallo, big meme, hilarious. You know, it's cool when he's good, but he's just not good. So there's no reason to have him on this team when you have a guy like Matt Wallner or Kirilloff or Larner could be playing, and they're all lefties too. So I don't need to see any more Joey Gallo. I do agree with that, though. I think Bleacher Report was on the nose. The Twins should make a trade to, acquire a good bat. I think they went more to the contact and the scoring aspect, which I thought with Pete Alonso, a big power bat guy, which that's fine. That works too. And they also agree with the Mets on things we've said. The Mets just are selling. The Mets are going to get rid of players, so you might as well target some of their players. And like they said, Pham's not going to be super expensive. So yeah, that would be an interesting pickup. I agree with that. That's a good choice, I think.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick. I just feel like that's not going to be enough though for the Twins to really do any damage in the future, especially if they make playoffs this season. So if the Twins are serious about going somewhere, then if they're going to make a trade, they got to make a big one. They got to make it worth our while.
Yeah, they might have to separate from some prospects they have. I mean, it's scary because it seems whenever Twins trade away a prospect, they end up to be a very good player. But, this team is not in a win now mode, and they're not in a lose now mode. They're just stuck in the Minneapolis, Minnesota mediocrity that is every Minnesota team, it seems, consistently. Except for the Timberwolves, they usually just suck. But hey,
we are Minnesota.
Up and up. Minnesota is a good way to explain some of the sports teams around here.
Yeah, we are Minnesota.
Not everything's mid, as the Vikings season's looking up so far right now. Daniel Hunter,
welcome back,
everyone.
Woohoo! We did it.
The show must go on for I think a third straight offseason. Daniel Hunter says, "I don't like my contract." For a third straight offseason, the Vikings are like, "Well, here's the same contract but more money guaranteed." And he says, all right, I'm in. So I can't wait to the same song and dance next year. But Daniel Hunter's back. 10.5 sacks each of the last 2 seasons. He is clearly one of the better pass rushers in the league. He will help his defense out a ton. I'm sure that Brian Flores is very happy that he is back. But Sam, you are not Brian Flores. Nope. But what do you think about Daniel Hunter coming back to the Vikings?
Well, defense is what the Vikings need. Offense has not really been a problem. And, if you looked at last year's score differential, the Vikings were they positive by the end of the season? I don't even know if they were.
1 or something like that.
Yeah, that's not a good thing. But I know one of the last games of the season, we got blown out really bad. We didn't score. I think we scored 3 points. We lost 42-3 or something like that.
Yeah, we got messed up by the Packers.
I mean, sure, you could say that, brought us down a lot. But how many games did the Vikings win based off a 1-possession game late in the fourth quarter?
Many.
They could have been the exact opposite record based off how many games they went through like that. So, the offense came through in so many different situations, and it's because the defense was lackluster and they could not support. And we saw that in the playoffs. And so, yeah, it's good that we got a guy who's a great pass rusher and is just going to continue to bring good defensive pressure because that's what they need at this point.
Yeah, and it will help with Brian Flores' defense because historically he runs an all-out blitz, so that's what he likes to do consistently. He likes to leave the corners man-to-man, not a lot of safety help, if any, and then all-out blitz down low. And Daniel Hunter one of the hardest guys to block in the NFL. We've seen it before. He's gotten 14 sacks one year, I think, and then 10 these last two. So double-digit sacks is nothing to scoff at for an NFL pass rusher. Teams are going to have to focus on him, but then they have a lot of other blitzers coming around. Ivan Pace Jr., the undrafted rookie, has already been playing with the second team. So there's going to be room for him to blitz off the edges of the linebacker too. They signed Marcus Davenport, who was I believe, a Pro Bowl, and at one point he suffered injuries last year, so he needs to play. But this is a defense that is definitely retooling. The secondary could still use some work. I think only Byron Murphy is the only real quality, at least proven corner we have. Caleb Evans, who knows? But Vikings might know something other people don't, because the Cam Dantzler, who they let go of, he's been bounced around twice already now since being on the Vikings. Hadn't even played snap and been on 3 different teams. So maybe the Vikings know something we don't. But Vikings, good news. Also, more better news. Things they know, maybe other people don't know. Kirk Cousins ranked 42nd on the NFL Top 100 list. That's voted on by players and coaches. So it's people that know football more than the average fan. I can almost guarantee you that. But Sam, who were the quarterbacks that he ranked ahead of? At least some of the big names.
He ranked ahead of Mr. Dak Prescott, Mr. Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson, and Justin Fields. All guys that you would possibly consider to be better quarterbacks than Kirk Cousins. So it's pretty interesting. I mean, I think I would probably take Kirk over quite a few of these guys. Like, Dak is so overpaid, and, I don't want a guy who's throwing the same amount of interceptions as touchdowns. And Trevor Lawrence still to prove more. I could see him getting above Kirk Cousins in the future, but that was weird. Sorry. Based on, the past seasons, Kirk, he's got a better offense to deal with, and so, he's going to look better as well because of that. Lamar Jackson, because of injury, have to see what he's going to come back and do. And then Justin Fields is not really much to say about that. You definitely want to take Kirk over Justin Fields.
Yeah, I'm not a big Justin Fields guy as of now. I understand where he is good. Obviously, he's an incredible runner of the football. And I'm not going to make the joke that, he's a running back, because he's not. He's a quarterback. He can throw the ball. And he did have over 1,000 yards rushing, which is very insane for a quarterback to have. And he did say, hey, I'm going to have, I'm going to have more than 4,000 yards throwing this season. He's going to be the first Bears quarterback ever to do that if he does it. He claims he will. But I'm still personally biased, maybe included, but trying to throw bias aside, I'm taking Kirk Cousins over him. He's a better thrower of the football. It's what you mostly want from your quarterback. Obviously, having the ability to scramble is helpful. And I'm not trying to be like the boomer old man saying, don't run the football. But, like, it is nice to have a guy who's going to sit there and put something on the right on the money. I mean, we see Tom Brady was the greatest quarterback of all time, and he barely ran at all. In terms of Dak Prescott being the second highest in this list is ridiculous to me. I think Dak Prescott is very much so overrated. I've never been a huge fan of his. He kind of has the unique ability of being mid at running and mid at throwing. He's not very good at either one. So I think why people kind of overhype him a little bit, because he can do both, but not very well. So I think that he should be behind Lamar Jackson on this list and Trevor Lawrence. I think Justin Fields was ahead of Trevor Lawrence, which is also ridiculous. Trevor Lawrence should probably be the second QB we're talking about here. I mean, it's hard to rank Lamar because he's suffered from injuries last year. And this list mostly goes off the previous year. I mean, it takes some years into consideration. But still, Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, much better than Justin Fields. But I don't think they're better than Kirk Cousins. Now, Lamar Jackson, you can make that case he is. I do like Lamar. He's one of those quarterbacks that can run extremely well, but he throws extremely well too. It looks almost effortless. When he flicks the ball downfield, he can go 70 yards easy. Those deep balls, it's hard to rank him because he doesn't have any good wide receivers. We've seen Kirk with some of the better wide receivers in the league, and he's performed well. So, it's easy to say he's good because he's played good. You put Lamar Jackson's offense, who knows if he does better or worse. But, I do like Kirk Cousins ahead of all these guys. I think that's a fair ranking. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this third episode of From a Fan's Eye View. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to hit that thumbs up button. It helps out a ton.
Yeah, guys, and make sure to check out our brand new video on the channel. We're starting a new mini-series, and we got the first episode uploaded for ranking the Western Conference teams. So go check out the video, give it a like, and we'll see you guys in the next one.